Good morning, buenos dias, buenas tardes, as it were. It is a lovely Friday, October 3rd. This is episode 183, which is a pretty big number. And it is currently 97% humidity here in the county of Los Angeles, the urban sprawl, which is pretty steamy, let me tell you. Buenas tardes, buenas noches, Mo. How's it going? Good to see you. Come on in, grab a cup of coffee, tea, your favorite libation. Okay. It's going to be a busy day, and I got to hit the road a little later today and put out a few fires before I leave. So let's get started. Come on in and ask some questions. Looks like most people are on YouTube, but if you're on X/Twitter or Twitch, come on in and say hi. We are simulcast through our global production studio to broadcast on multiple platforms. And you may notice this here. This is the Microsoft Dynamics 365 BC channel on YouTube, and there are 48 or 49, something like that, new videos for the lovely Business Central 2025 Release Wave 2, which was released on October 1st. More or less, I think. My recollection is that some of these new features and things that are discussed will be released over the next 6 months with the various minor releases, but you can imbibe on the various videos, avail yourself of the various videos on YouTube, and learn a few things like excise taxes framework. There are a few things more exciting than the conversation of excise taxes. So last weekend, I kind of took it easy. I think I had a cold. I still have that cold, you'll notice. And I tried to play with the Gajuino, which is the Arduino-based controller system contraption that you put on a Gagia Classic Pro. And so I stared at an absolute pile of wires for several minutes and looked at instructions, tried to figure out what to do. I don't really know what to do, but of all things that helped me, I found a wiring diagram. The last thing in the world I thought would make sense, but the photos, the instructions are all very vague, like just plug in a wire somewhere. But the wiring diagram actually has accurate wire colors, accurate connector locations, things like that. So Seems someone did update that. So I was able to do the initial plugin for the Gajuino, make sure it boots up, and it is pretty fancy. It's super fast. I don't even know where the Arduino board is embedded. I'm kind of staring at this thing like, where's the controller? Maybe the Arduino chip is so small. I'm used to seeing it on the normal board. Maybe it's embedded in either the purple thing or the screen. I think it's a purple thing, and it's so small you can't even tell where it is. So that was kind of cool. I do not yet know how to install it. I do not yet know what half the parts are. And I'm seeing videos with people with other parts, so I don't know if I'm missing anything. Adventure begins. And then I went to the beach with my wife. Excuse me. Oh, here's a photo of what a finished Gajuino might look like. So you've got this nice LED, LCD touchscreen on the front, and it shows your roof profiles, your pressure profile, temperature, target temperature. I have the integrated Bluetooth scale that will talk to that controller, weigh the shot as it comes out. Pretty crazy, and you can choose different recipes. Really, really hardcore. And the claim is this takes the $500 Gajuino to $4,000 competitor. So the theme of this is going to the beach with my wife. Went down to Seal Beach, and I was a little hungry, a little tired, so I said, okay, let's stop by the coffee shop. I got a coffee. This was a small latte, $7.45. It does include a tip, but still, $7.45 for a small latte. And so I sipped this latte and I'm like, okay, whatever. It's typical disappointing coffee shop latte. My wife tries it. She says, where's the coffee? Exactly. For $7.45, even a small latte feels so watered down you can barely taste the latte or the coffee. Very, very disappointing. But it wasn't bad. It was just, it doesn't compare to the worst latte I would make at home. And so by comparison, if you run the numbers, let's say you spend $1,000 on a home espresso setup, which I thought was insane several years ago. I thought that's the craziest thing in the world for someone to spend $1,000. But after walking out of coffee shops with a $7 cup of liquid in my hand, you quickly realize the math makes complete sense. Even if you just go easy and you say at $5 a shot, 200 shots, you break even. And 6 shots a week, 28 weeks, you break even. Let's just go long. Let's say 9 months, more than break even. And even if you include coffee and milk at $2, which would be a premium coffee, like $20 a bag, $2, you're at $7 a cup. And the capper is it's vastly, vastly better coffee. The latte I make at home, cheers, is just so far superior to nearly anything I've had at a coffee shop. There's just no comparison. And I can have my Salvadoran coffee, the passenger coffee. I can have Flatlands coffee, whatever you like. If you like the 5-pound bag of coffee at Costco, you do you, right? So anyway, yeah. And then, as promised, I watched the movie Fletch, and my wife, my big head's in the way. My wife had not seen the movie Fletch, so we watched it together and had a good time. And no, Ted, I will never stop with the espresso. Um, I have a pour over setup as well. Hey, variety is the spice of life, as they say, right? Come on, right? Got to have all the toys. So my wife and I watched Fletch. It is a silly movie, and but it was a lot of fun. I hadn't seen it in many years, and so we revisited the Fetzer valve and ball bearings and antifreeze, and yeah, it was a great, very, very funny movie. So, weekly projects. A new project after, I swear, 18 months has finally purportedly started. We had what was supposed to be a project kickoff call. A little more on that later. And we continue the journey of learning Macorma Payment Hub for BC. Specifically, we're trying to learn how their check works and how we deal with overflow remittance and their overflow remittance report. It is a long learning process. It is not just you install it in Bling, and nothing to do with their product, but for instance, I was working with Ronald and we walked through the process of how do you set up, 30 different vendor invoices to test and go through that process. And that was new to him. I'm pretty rusty on it. So we're like, okay, how do we set the defaults up in Cronus? How do we set the bank account? How do we set the default report? And so we're learning. There are lots of little things. And now that we're printing the check, we're like, why does the format look like that? Are we choosing the right one? How do we change the remittance lines? How do we print the overflow? Right. Simple questions in theory. We just don't know the answers yet. So it's just that learning curve with any ISV solution that Ronald has now experienced several times. So he is working through that, and we're trying to figure it out. I think we might have to do a support ticket or two to just ask the dumb questions like, what does this option mean? We don't understand what this means. And then I attempted to do more lawyering, which I hate. More lawyering is in my future, and I've got to pay for a lawyer to do a contract review. And so, yeah, let the fun begin. And then I had a call requesting a weird PTE for a very weird BC implementation. Like, I, I don't know how customers do this stuff. I've heard of it, I've seen it. Every time I'm just like, you did what? So, once again, here we go. Now, I was going to work on my session submissions for the Vibe conference in January. That has been deferred, just haven't got to it. And my continued education in modern software engineering has also been deferred. I did a little bit of reading Friday, Saturday, but just wasn't feeling well. So that has to be deferred until next week. And hey, this might just be a common theme. I'm kind of hooked on this. And I discovered the subreddit, I guess it's called r/mechanical keyboards. Wow. Wow. Like last week I talked about the Seneca, $4,000 to $8,000. That's pretty crazy. But R mechanical keyboards, or whatever the cool kids call subreddits, holy cow, these things, like, it makes me want to go buy a bunch of keyboards. Some of these are just gorgeous. Like, I don't know that any of these people type on these keyboards, but as collector sets and as a hobby, like, really amazing stuff. They have custom keycaps. I don't know if people create these. I don't know how they create them, but apparently people say they created these custom keycaps. Truly wild, like gorgeous stuff. And like I said, I don't know how usable these things are. Like, I don't know what this X thing with the triangle mountain. Oh, it's like an up and down arrow. They have all these different sizes, truly wild. And this was crazy. This keyboard, I don't know what you call this format. It's like a 60% or an 80%. They have these terminology lingo, I don't know. This keyboard, every single key is a different 3D sculpted, I, I don't know what you call it. It's a 3D Pokemon character with clear epoxy on the keycap. Like, truly incredible stuff. Like, I'm not into Pokemon, but that's amazing. Every key is different. I don't know how you tell what each key is, so not sure about the usability front, but phenomenal. And this person is clearly a collector. Just gorgeous. Like the colors, the quality, super clean, super high quality. I was thinking that like what the keyboards I use were kind of the exception, but this made me feel much better. These are absolutely gorgeous. I'd love to have this, and I'd want to try a different one every day. But you notice these do not look like the most usable. I use every single key on my keyboard, and so I would need function keys. I would need a 10 key. I need page up, page down, screenshot arrows. So these would not work for me. Most of these really beautiful keyboards are these smaller form factors, it seems. But yeah, Ted says this person is clearly not a count. And many of them, they're clearly, not a single F key, or you have to use some special function key combination to use the F key. I don't know how you get any work done. So this is not the practitioner's keyboard, but really cool. So I scrolled this subreddit and made me want to go buy a bunch of keyboards. And they even have posts of people who buy the bare circuit boards. They solder everything on there, from the lights to the keycaps to whatever else they put on this thing. And then they buy the bare machined or, anodized chassis, solid metal chassis, and literally purchase every single component and assemble it from scratch. Hardcore, hats off, props to these people. Absolutely love it. So, Monday, had a discussion with the Berlin team on medium and long-term projects or goals, because common theme, if you are constantly just doing the tasks and putting out fires every single day, you will never improve, never learn a new skill. You'll never advance, right? You'll always be behind the curve. You'll never be able to keep up, whatever the analogy or message is. So we talked a little bit about that, and they were just like, okay, Steve, whatever. But I'm going to try to push them to work on medium and long-term projects or goals. Like Jocelyn learned financial reporting. She learned Power BI, and she didn't even realize that was something that was going to, have a 3 to 6 month lead time that pays off in 12 to 18 months. And right now, Ronald's working on all the ISV solutions. And although you don't really see where that's going, once he's got 3 or 4 or 5 under his belt, he becomes the guy that helps support all of our customers with ISVs. Summit, bringing all what to Summit? Not the keyboards, not all the Berliners, but I don't even know if I'm going to be at Summit, honestly. We'll see. And our new project kickoff call. We're in the conversation, supposed to be a kickoff call. Okay, let's confirm your chart of accounts. Let's confirm data migration. Let's confirm these modules and the budget and the plan. Yeah, so about the invoices, we don't know which system is going to generate and send invoices. After 18 months or something like this, we still don't know. They're changing their mind on the fly. Crazy, crazy. Don't know which system is going to do cash receipts. Don't know which direction the data is going to go between BC and Salesforce. So I'm just like, oh, okay, here we go. At least we're on the clock now. That's all I got to say. And then unreliable job queues. Oh, Ted, yeah, we're not going to be bringing the Berlin team to Summit. As you can imagine, that is a very expensive endeavor. And needless to say, US travel visas are not easy to achieve. Maybe in 1, 2, 3 years, 1 or 2 of them might be able to go, but that's a little longer term. We're working on it. That's a multi-year project. Unreliable job queues. A customer was wondering why their unit costs are wrong, and it seems that their job queue, where they were running the revalue inventory or whatever that's called, that job queue failed back in January. They had no idea. They were just wondering why all their unit costs are wrong. They don't know enough about BC to realize that's what it was and that it stopped. So we look into it. There it is. Failed, error. And BC, like BC job queues, like they see a ghost and they're like, oh, I quit, and fall over and stop working. And they don't let you know. So not a huge fan of that. So we reactivate it. Sure enough, I'm pretty sure it failed again, because the failure was due to changing of the allowed posting dates, and the users got the same error when they tried to run it. So Ted mentioned Summit El Salvador, and thank you for noting that. One thing we are doing is we have been, but we are, by we, I mean they, we are going to work on creating the first ever Dynamics user group in all of Latin America, from the Mexican border all the way down to the tip of South America. There is not a single Dynamics user group in all of Latin America. So, Berlin, El Salvador, one of the most unlikely places you can imagine, will be the home of the first Dynamics user group in all of Latin America. And what will they host? I don't know yet, but it could be in English, it could be in Spanish. And we're going to try to rope in some Salvadorans, have remote meetings to start, and then we'll invite, I know some people in Peru and Ecuador, and I believe Colombia has more of a presence there. They're a larger player in the economy in Latin America. So that's what we're working on. And so, yeah, fighting job queues. And we had another call about the potential use of job queues, but we got to deal with reliability issues. And the queue setup page, gosh, feels like I talked about this last week. Can't remember, but oh, the queue setup page. Didn't I talk about this? I don't know. Maybe I was talking to someone else, but this is terrible design in case I didn't talk about it last week. Turning that red for tasks in queue, what were they thinking? And you have to go into queue setup and you have to change job queue tasks in queue at the system level. You can do it at the user level, but do it at the system level to get rid of that unfavorable rating. That is perhaps the most useless queue indicator default in Business Central. Makes no sense. So turn that off. We've had many calls from users complaining about that. Feels like deja vu here. So my apologies, lo siento, if I have discussed that previously. And there was earlier in the week, BC version 27, when you tried to create a preview sandbox, there was an error setting up that environment. I'm guessing that's resolved. I didn't check to see, but if you are still getting that error, you can check out known issues 5693283, creation of version 27 preview environment fails with internal error. So let me know if that's been fixed. I'm assuming it's been fixed, but I have not checked since I posted this. And thanks to Yun Chu for posting that on Twitter, the famous Yun Chu. Tuesday, Martes. I see that my production assistant failed again. Okay, so we are using Simple Object Designer at a customer, and by we, I mean Tanya. And Tanya and David are using lots of custom fields on purchase order, sales order, doing transfers, ship notifications, packing lists, you name it, all over the place, all the fields. And in addition to having the fields on the pages, they are going on to the reports. And we had to bug Eric to learn, which may be a standard feature. We just had not done this enough, to learn how to use custom fields with multiple report layouts. So it turns out you got to do a thing. You got to click on update report layout and export button. But we figured that out. So thank you very much, Eric. Gracias, señor. So we are going to town. Tanya is going to town with Simple Object Designer at this customer. And so far, we have not had to do a PTE, although we are pushing the limits. And we're at a point where, as far as we can tell, something needs a PTE, not because of a limitation of Simple Object Designer, but because of this bizarre default report printing option in BC that suppresses the company address. So we're looking into that. That will either require a modified hard-coded report or a PTE for that report. Ted says, worked with Lindsay Manufacturing's Brazil group on NAV. Yeah, so I'm not connected really to the NAV space, but I know a couple of partners who have been working with GP in South America for quite a while. I've spoken to a few customers who've used BC in Latin America, and the reviews have not been positive of their partners and resources down there. Just the there's been just a lack of training, a massive skills gap among the consulting resources is the feedback I've received. So we're hoping to improve that. Adios, Ted Johnson. Que tengas un buen fin de semana. So preparing and reusing bulk data for testing. So this came up working with Ronald. He needs to prepare, say, 20, 30, 40 vendor invoices in order to test remittance overflow on a check. What's a good way to do that, right? How do you do it? What's the most efficient way? Because we don't want to keep re-entering this. Is it copy and paste from Excel? Is it added in Excel? Actually, that's a pretty good idea now that I think about it. I'm not a fan of config packages for stuff like this, but that's an option as well. So when you need to do recurrent testing, how do you prepare a bunch of different test data? It's pretty tedious, it's time consuming, and it really becomes a hurdle for doing repeated testing on a process. So Ronald is dealing with that. I know Jocelyn's looking into that because this is a challenging one. Jocelyn wants to work on financial statements. She wants to practice redoing all of the account categories and the GL accounts and the row layouts or row formats for financial reports. But in order to make sure she does it right, she wants to be able to compare her financial statement in Cronus with a financial statement in the customer sandbox. Not so easy, right? You need the GL accounts, you need the account balances for a given period, and it's quite a bit of work. So we're trying to come up with a way to do that without, the wholesale import of a bunch of data. So that's an eternal challenge. Open to suggestions there. And random note, Minecraft server. My daughter came to me one night. She says, "Yeah, I'm trying to install the JDK." And I'm like, "Wait, what?" This is my cybersecurity intern. And she says, "Yeah, I'm setting up a Minecraft server on my PC and it requires JDK. And there's the Microsoft one and then there's the other one." And I'm like, "Hold up, wait a minute." I said, "Cybersecurity intern, what will you progress, or as you progress, why will none of this matter? Why will you not be able to run a Minecraft server on your home PC?" And she thought for a minute. She says, "Oh, the firewall?" It's like, "Yes." She says, "We'd have to open ports?" I say, "Yes." And she says, "Oh, not bad for a 15-year-old." And so I'm like, "Yep." She says, "So we can't do that?" I'm like, "No chance. No chance that I am going to open a port to my network for a Minecraft server. Not going to happen." So she's like, "Oh," so she was kind of bummed. And I'm like, "Why don't you use an external server?" So we discussed and had a brainstorm, and it turns out this is a thing. Several companies out there will spin up your private Minecraft server. There are several. So we compared prices, looked at two or three. I'm more familiar with DigitalOcean and a Droplet. So I looked at prices. I had a Droplet handy that I could use, but turns out Hostinger has a fully turnkey, awesome plan, inexpensive for a Minecraft server. And if you do an annual plan, if you do monthly, it's not too bad, but annual plan is a pretty good price. And you can do automatic backups and things like that. So within minutes, we had spun up a Minecraft server. I sent the password manager entry to my intern, and she was up and running on a Hostinger Minecraft server, playing with her friend. And it was quite cool and pretty amazing what you can do. There's a whole game panel. It's really amazing. I had no idea that it was possible. So here is what's called a game panel apparently. So it runs on Debian, and yeah, pretty awesome. So yeah, in just a few minutes for I think $60 a year, she has her own Minecraft server. So that was pretty neat, and it is called the coolest server ever, naturally. But yeah, pretty cool. So we got a 4 gig Debian server. apparently supports up to 20 users, so she was able to play Minecraft with her friend who has a PC. So, give new things a try. Um, so I got a call from my partner in crime, Tanya. She says, Steve, this customer needs the ability to restrict access to certain dimension values by user. So these users should not have access to these dimensions. These users should have access to those dimensions. And this customer does not use MEM. So I said, sounds like you've got a problem there. So she asked if it would be possible to create a customization to handle this. And at first I said that would be crazy. I wouldn't want to touch that with a cattle prod. But after thinking about it for a little bit, it might not be too horrible. It would not be my favorite task to do. But yeah, these are the interesting things that come up. Like, am I missing something? Does this exist? Has anyone done this before? To restrict access to certain dimension values by user in a non-MEM environment. Is there a solution for this? I'd rather not develop this if something exists in the market, right? And then MCP. Holy cow. MCP this, MCP that. If you've been following this whole AI hype train, MCP is the new cool buzzword. And so I think Jeremy released his BC Knowledge Server thingy for developing using multiple agents. I think that's considered an MCP. And then I recently saw Stefan Marone release something about an MCP. I don't even know what it does. So I'm just kind of watching this, kind of trying to not get caught up in it. I think I understand the concept, but I think it's in the strong hype stage. And I don't know that the practical use cases are there yet. So let me know, have you used an MCP? And if you don't know what an MCP is, welcome to the club. Terminology mess. I got an email on Wednesday saying, yeah, we've got this entity and it's got a company in the environment, and we need to import into the entities in the companies in the environments. And I'm like, what are you talking about? It's like the word entity, company, environment, entities, companies, environments were just all interchangeable in this email. And this is a BC partner. Now, maybe this email was just, dashed out and sent off like, just deal with this, Steve. But I'm reading this like, I have no idea what you're talking about. And I was like, sorry, I need surgical precision if you're going to use these words. Like, either use them carefully and properly, or like, there's no way I can understand what you're talking about. I don't know if that went over very well, but yeah, sorry, I just don't have patience for a partner who can't use company and environment and tenant and entity with precision. It shouldn't be that hard. I understand you make an occasional typo or use the wrong word, but like every time I use one of these words, I have to think carefully about it. It's like, okay, what do I mean here? And I also emphasize this with the Berlin team in El Salvador. When you use these words, you have to use them properly. Otherwise, mass confusion will ensue, or you'll do the wrong thing and screw something up. So that's my request. End of rant. So, wrong email, sir. And if you're familiar with the Blues Brothers, you should know this scene. This is a classic scene. Wrong glass, sir. And so this is the second time in the last week I was copied on an email when I should not have been, or the person sent an email to someone that they should not have. And this was essentially confidential financial information. Some company added our support desk to an email that had invoices with bank account information. Like, I don't want this. And I don't even know that they noticed. I don't know how they could have possibly included our support email on this invoice internal forward, but they did. And then last week, someone added the wrong email address to a confidential meeting invite. Like they invited some random person to a meeting, which is a discussion of some pretty sensitive information. And I'm like, that's not the right Bob. Like, folks, you got to be careful. And I get it, mistakes happen, but 2 in 1 week. Wow. And with people inviting these AI bots to all their meetings, game over in terms of data privacy and confidentiality. Upcoming events, Proximos Eventos Summit NA coming up October 20th through 23rd in Orlando. I am not eager to go. I might fly in, not sure. I'll see. Anyway, have a good time, kids. And if you have not registered for the BC Bash yet, that is Tuesday, October 21st at 9 p.m. at the Cuba Libre Restaurante. And you do need to register in advance. So scan that QR code or head on over to steveendo.link/BCBash2025, all lowercase. Directions EMEA, November 4th through 6th in Poland. And Partner in Vibe Conference, January 28th through 30th, South Padre Island, Texas. I am going to try to attend this one. I need to submit some session presentation ideas in the next week, so hope to attend that one. Dynamics Minds, May 25th through 27th in Slovenia, so a few months to plan for that BC conference. And more on the Partner in Vibe conference. This is a Microsoft partner focused conference. My understanding, it is not product focused. It is not about new features and functionality and how to do this integration or use that feature. It is focused on high level advanced sessions that deliver real world insights, strategic depth, and peer driven learning frameworks, lessons learned, practical applications that help partners grow and succeed. So my interpretation is this is about partners running a practice. How do you do your consulting? How do you approach new markets? How do you hire? How do you train? How do you learn? How do you be successful? Head on over to, if you are a partner, head on over to sessionize.com/vibe. Check out more information about what they're looking for in the session categories, topics, and submission description, and see if you want to contribute. Hopefully I see you there. And then on Thursday, we, Ronald and I prepared data for McCormick remittance overflow testing, but I repeat myself. I'm kind of rusty on that, so there were some fields I didn't remember what default, and we had to kind of fight with BC to get that data tested. So it's kind of a long process just to figure out all the details just to get to the point where we test. And then we're like, okay, how does this work? And we got to learn the McCormick side of things. So it took it's taking some time to figure out, right? Quite a few details. And then here is a weird project. Hear me out. So I had a call with a partner looking for help, and they described what they wanted. And I said, what? Wait a minute. Hold up. What's going on here? And apparently the backstory is, and I'm sure there's some like crazy backstory about this. Apparently this company had BC with over 50 separate companies at some point. I don't know if they use Nav or not. Hopefully not, but they had BC. Then someone comes along for whatever reason. I don't know the situation. They say, why do you have 50 companies? You should be using MEM. MEM allows you to have one company with 50 entities, makes your life easier. Great, let's do that. So they take over 50 separate companies. They then implement MEM in a new environment. They migrate all of their data for all 50 plus companies. They're up and running in MEM. Apparently, so I'm told, that didn't go well. For whatever reason, that was not implemented properly. Partner didn't know what they were doing. right? Which is always the story coming from the new partner. But so I'm told it was not implemented properly. There are challenges. Data was bad. I don't know what that means. So now a new CFO comes in, and get this. Are you sitting down? They are now, once again, going to go from one environment, one company, 50 plus entities in MEM. Guess what? You see it coming yet? They are going to remigrate all of their data to split it out into 50 plus separate companies in Business Central. So they have yet another production environment, 50 new companies, and they are exporting all of their data to populate these 50 companies, and they're going to move off of MEM. This is the craziest journey I think I've heard in a long time. And I've heard some doozies. Like, mistakes were made, clearly. No idea how. It's probably happened over several years, but holy cow, to go from 50 plus companies to MEM back to 50 plus companies. Wow. Absolutely bonkers. So we're just kind of in awe at this. Like, fortunately, it's not our project, but we're being asked to help deal with the fallout of this. And we're just like, wait, you want to do what? So we are now looking to propose a design and figure out how we build a particular type of very unusual integration with 50 plus companies. Yeah, and we're just like, okay, let's do it. And on Friday, I have the live stream. Welcome. And then I've got to pack because I'm going to Vamos and hit the road and go on a little road trip for the weekend. So I will be saying adios shortly. But before I do, there are a few Summit NA roadshows coming up. December 9th in Houston, December 11th in Fort Lauderdale. And I believe that wraps things up for the Community Summit roadshows for the year. But double check those dates if you're in the Texas or Florida region. And excellence update with the ERP Center of Excellence in the Berlin, El Salvador side of a volcano office. And I mean that quite literally. Rainy season is hopefully wrapping up. It is October. It is basically the end of rainy season is super bad in El Salvador. So hopefully we don't get flooded out and we have no new leaks in the office. But Jocelyn is, as I mentioned, working on GL account categories and financial reports in order to do that multiple times to become an expert there. David has been putting out numerous fires with report layouts and custom fields, SOD, you name it, he is helping out there. Ronald is continuing the charge to learn the McCorma super check and overflow and how to test that repeatedly and demonstrate that internally. Franklin is wrapping up his Excel file import AL development project, and then he is jumping back over to the tenant admin dashboard, which I want to use internally to help manage our customer environments. And Fatima is making very good progress on learning project management and doing training courses for the PMI PMP project manager course. And she is also learning English 3 hours a day. And she is also helping to manage the Acoyolar Christmas Festival. And we are starting the shopping and looking at toys and food and all the supplies so that we are ready for that December event where Tanya and I will be flying in. So, Q&A. What are you working on? What fun Business Central feature or adventure are you embarking on? And there are many times where someone will ask me, did you know? Or I will ask, did you know? Like, I did not recall, I don't even know if I knew about the Business Central event recorder. Maybe I did. I don't know. I knew about page scripting. I know about the performance profiler, in-app performance profiler that Eric told me about. I cannot remember if I ever knew about event recorder. I asked my developer about this and he says, yes, I have specifically used this back on that project. He says we used it, but by that he means he used it because I didn't write that code, so I don't remember it. So Waldo has a blog post, Troubleshooting Series Episode 4 Event Recorder, where he describes how he has used Event Recorder in order to help him identify events where he may want to hook his code into BC for particular events. So check out Waldo's blog post, Event Recorder Troubleshooting Series. And then on the learning front, as I mentioned at the very beginning, there are like 48 or 49 new videos for the Business Central launch event for 2025 Wave 2, I guess, version 27. And Tin has a great post on Twitter saying, hey, the launch event is here. I can learn while sharpening my knives. That is a great metaphor, sharpening knives. And it is a great literal message because my family loves to destroy knives and not take care of them. I have a drawer full of knives that I just haven't bothered to sharpen because they'll just, start cutting, steel with it. So I may pull out the knives, pull out the sharpener. I use a Lansky sharpener myself, if you're in the know. But it looks like Tin is going with the classic whetstone, so props to him. And yeah, so sharpen your knives while sharpening your knives by watching the launch videos. So there you go. There is your message of the week. And with that, good compatriots of the Business Central ecosystem, que tengas un buen fin de semana. Almost made it without coughing. Have a good weekend. Learn something and enjoy. Adios.